Hello, word nerds. Welcome to this one episode of The Dictionary, hosted by me, Spencer. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I think it would be a smart thing for you to do to start now and listen through all the episodes, maybe at least one or two a day. If you don't keep up with it, you're never going to catch up. The other option is you got to binge a lot. You got to have a lot of time, binge so many episodes in a day to catch up. And, not everybody can do that. We lead busy lives. I am recording this on January 8th, 7:08 a.m., 2024. And I just a couple of quick things to say. We watched the Golden Globes last night. I stayed up kind of late, so I'm a bit sleepy today. And it's always fun to watch award shows. I do got to say, this is way out of time for you. I'm sure all the news has passed for you, but this whole box office award. It breaks my brain. It hurts me. I don't understand it. What's with a box office award? Isn't it just based on numbers? And why would you have an award based on box office, based on numbers, based on something objective? The awards are subjective. That's part of the fun of it. It's all based on opinions. But box office is numbers, and it is not subjective. And I'm very glad that Barbie won this big award. But I think it deserved a bit more than that. Barbie was so fantastic, and it had such a huge cultural effect. Anyway, just wanted to get that off my chest. Just the award in general, didn't understand it, but at least Barbie got it. I think it should have gotten Best Director and Best Comedy Film, but hey, whatever. Okay. Oh, the other thing is, my parents celebrated their 50th anniversary a couple of days ago, and I spent a lot of time making a movie for them, which we screened in a theater, a small theater that we rented out, and they loved it, and it was a success, and there were so many tears, and we had a good time. Yep, okay. We have more epi words today. Yeah, lots of epi words, some that look kind of scientific-y. So let's remind ourselves what the epi prefix means. Upon, besides, attached to, over, outer, after. Or if we're talking about chemical things, a chemical entity related to another, a chemical entity distinguished from another. So that's what you got to have in your brain when you hear me read all these words. So let's do that. Let's read these words. We got epilation, Epilation, noun from 1878. The loss or removal of hair is called epilation. I didn't know there was a name for this. The loss or removal of hair. So if you shave your head, then you will have had some epilation. Or if you're just gradually losing your hair like many people are, then that would also be epilation. So far, I think I'm okay. I got a lot of hair. I hope I never have the epilation. But, it will probably happen at some point. I'll probably start losing it in the back. And then maybe my 5 head will become a 6 head. It's going to happen, probably. This is from the French epiler, which means to remove hair. Epiler, to remove hair. Which is from the E prefix plus the Latin word pilus, which means hair. And there's more at the word pile. So this one is not actually using the epi prefix. It's the E prefix plus pilation. The hair. That's getting rid of the hair. That's the E prefix. Cut it out. Cut it out. Okay. Well, I think then the sound effect that I want to make is going to be the buzz cutting clippers, which I used for about 20 years. Zzz. Next word is epilepsy. This is a big one. And is literally a big one. It's one long definition. Epilepsy is a noun from 1543. Any of various disorders marked by abnormal electrical discharges in the brain and typically manifested by sudden, brief episodes of altered or diminished consciousness, involuntary movements, or convulsions. Convulsions. Oh, yeah, we'll break it down a little bit. So, abnormal electrical discharges in the brain. The brain it's always electrified. There's always electricity being fired between the neurons and then sending signals through the nerves through your body to tell you to do things. And this is abnormal. So there's something going on in the brain that's making the electrical signals all wibbly wobbly wonky donkey. So, and things that can happen when you have these various conditions, disorders, could be brief episodes. So, I don't know, they could last like a minute or two, maybe more, maybe less. And diminished consciousness or altered consciousness is one of them. Somebody was telling me that she had epilepsy. This was many years ago. She didn't have seizures per se. I guess they were technically seizures, but they were more like she would be standing there. She would maybe sort of, her consciousness would get kind of weird. She would maybe just zone out into space. I'm sure her vision maybe went sort of like tunnely or something like that, but it wasn't like the typical seizure that you think of. But yeah, it was this more altered, diminished consciousness, which is fascinating, weird, scary, probably, yeah. Involuntary movement. So yeah, if you have especially these seizures, involuntary movements or convulsions, your body might be doing tightening up, vibrating, moving. I don't know. Who knows? Lots of possibilities. When the electrical signals are messed up, anything can happen. I'm very glad that I have never had, to my knowledge, any seizures, or I don't think I have epilepsy. Hope I never get that. But I will put a link in the show notes for epilepsy because it sounds like there's different kinds. They could show show their face in different ways. And we obviously need to talk about the etymology for this word. Let's see. We're going down to Greek epilambanin, which means to seize. That long word means to seize, which is from the epi prefix plus lambanin, which means to take or seize. Not sure why the epi prefix got added onto that. How does it change the definition? I'm not sure. There's more at the word latch. So if you seize up, you are maybe grabbing onto a thing, latching onto a thing. So I could see the connection there. But yeah, it's a scary thing, epilepsy, to have, and you don't know when it's going to happen. So many things cause this. So go to the show notes, read up on epilepsy, and if you have epilepsy and you would like to say a little bit about how this shows up in your day-to-day life, feel free to write me an email, voicemail, leave me a voicemail on the Google Voice number in the show notes. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and I can put it in a show. I'll say it, or I'll hit play on the voicemail. Epilepsy. Crazy, crazy stuff the body does. Okay. Zzz. The next word is a very long prefix. 3 different forms of it. Epilept, epilepty, or epilepto. I mean, that's like a whole word right there. Let's see. There's no year, as usual. It literally just means epilepsy, I think. Because, yeah, the example is epileptoid or epileptoid, which is coming up here. But yeah, it's from the Greek. Now, it's a little bit different than the previous one, similar but different. But specifically, it's from the word epileptos or epileptos, Greek, I think I said, which means seized by epilepsy. So epilepsy comes from the word, which they list here again, epilambanin, which means to seize. But then this one is seized by epilepsy, seizing by the thing that seizes you. Okay. And so if you're using this prefix, it's related to epilepsy in some way, like this next word, zzz, epileptic, adjective from 1605. Now this one, technically, it's got this prefix, but is it using the prefix or is it just another form of epilepsy? We'll never know. Anyway, this is relating to, affected with, or having the characteristics of epilepsy, as in an epileptic seizure. You got the seizure, it's related to the epilepsy in your body, in your brain, so it is an epileptic seizure. Somebody had a seizure in the back of our car once, and it was not related to epilepsy, but it was very scary because we had never seen them have a seizure before. We freaked out, but they got it sorted. Epileptic is also a noun. Epileptically is an adverb. So how would you use that one? Epileptically, they had a seizure epileptically. They seized epileptically because it was related to their epilepsy. Okay. Zzz. Epileptiform. Epileptiform. This must be one of the ones using this epilepty prefix. It is an adjective from circa 1859, resembling that of epilepsy. Resembling that of epilepsy. So that would be epileptiform, as in an epileptiform convulsion. I don't know how this is different than epileptic. Let's look at the years. Epileptic 1605, epileptiform 1859, 250 or so years later. But I feel like epileptic gets used more. They seem very similar. They're both adjectives. I'm sure there's some subtle difference because it's resembling that of epilepsy. It's similar. It resembles epilepsy. So you could have maybe an epileptiform convulsion that's not related to epilepsy. There's no epilepsy in the body, but it seems like it could possibly be. So that's why it's epileptiform. It's in the form of epilepsy. Is that what we're supposed to think? Okay. Zzz. Next is eleptogenic. Eleptogenic. Adjective from circa 1882, inducing or tending to induce epilepsy, as in an what's this word? Epileptogenic drug. So the drug, if you take this drug, it is going to induce or possibly induce epilepsy. So I guess that if you have epilepsy and they want to bring it forth in your body through your nerves for some reason, they might give you this drug, this epileptogenic drug. And I think the genic part of that suffix part, is kind of like the creation, the form, the beginning of a thing. So that's why it's bringing on the epilepsy. This epileptogenic drug. Okay. I'm going to have a bald head by the time we're done with this episode. Here is epileptoid. This was the example in the epilepty prefix. So what is it? Epileptoid. Adjective from circa 1860. Number 1, the synonym is epileptiform, which was the one resembling that of epilepsy. Number 2, exhibiting symptoms resembling those of epilepsy. So yeah, I see the connection with epileptiform, as in the epileptoid person. So this person exhibits symptoms resembling that of epilepsy. Now, it's not saying if they literally have epilepsy or they just have symptoms that are similar to epilepsy, in which case they would be resembling epilepsy and not literally epilepsy. So I don't know the specifics, but epileptoid. What is the What is the oid, O-I-D suffix? That's an interesting one. I can't wait to get there. Yeah, because I know that it's gotten put onto words that are not the nicest words, words that we don't really use anymore. So is it like a way to describe a person? Oid? I don't know. Okay. Next is epilimnion. Epilimnion or eptilimnion. Epilimnion. This is a noun from circa 1910, and it is the water laying. No. The water layer overlying the thermocline of a lake, or the thermocline or thermocline of a lake. Okay, so we know we're using the epi prefix, which is, on top of, so that makes sense. The eptilimnion is the water layer overlying the thermocline of a lake. And of course, I don't know what the thermocline is. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but it's some layer I think related to temperature in a lake. Maybe there's a change in temperature from the deep stuff to the more shallow stuff, and that change there would be the thermocline of the lake, and then the water above that, maybe it's warmer. I would think. I'm just guessing. That water would be the epilimnion. And the etymology says, this is of course from the epi prefix, plus the Greek word limnion or limnion, which is the diminutive of limni, which means marshy lake. That's literally what it means, marshy lake. And there's more at the word limnetic, which I'm going to guess is related to a lake and water, probably. I'm trying to think of other words. I can't think of any other words that are like this. Limnion, limnus, something with dealing with water. I don't know any. The epilimnion is the water. It's a layer of water. Next is epilogue. Epilogue, or you can spell it just ending at the G. You don't need the U and the E. You can just end at the G. Epilogue or epilogue. Noun from the 15th century. 1. A concluding section that rounds out the design of a literary work. The literary work has been designed, and we have to finish it up. What's the end? The end of the literary work. 2a. A speech, often in verse, addressed to the audience by an actor at the end of a play. Also, the actor speaking such an epilogue is called the epilogue. And I didn't know that because I haven't studied plays. But yeah, just a thing that's just closing it out, finishing it up. 2b. The final scene of a play that comments on or summarizes the main action. So this is what you just watched. This is what just happened in the play. These were the themes, the morals, all that stuff. And this is how you should feel about it. And that's the epilogue. 3. The concluding section of a musical composition, and the synonym is coda. It's just the last piece, the summarizing thing, the conclusion. That's the epilogue. In books, movies, they will often have this. You got the climax, the story is going, you got the climax, the thing, it's like, oh my God, all the stuff is happening, it's so fast and energetic maybe, and then it ends. Oh, that was such a great ending. But now we get to the epilogue, and this is where it's just like, oh, well, how did things go? What's the sum up that we're tying it all together? The Return of the King. Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King had a lot of epilogues because we had a lot of loose ends to tie up. How did this end? How did this end? How did this end? So that was, I think that has the award for most epilogues. This word is from, the Greek epilogos, which is from epilegine or epilegine, which means to say in addition. That's what that means, to say in addition. So if you are saying a thing more than what you already said, that is the verb epilegine in Greek, which is from the epi prefix plus legine, which means to say, and there's more at the word legend. Like what? The legend on a map, maybe, or the legend of the things, the tall tales, the legends. Okay, epilogue. So yeah, the epi is like after, on top of whatever was already said. We're gonna say some additional stuff. So weird clippers. The next word is epimer. 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 Noun from circa 1911. Either of two stereoisomers or isomers that differ in the arrangement of groups on a single asymmetric carbon atom as the first chiral center of a sugar's carbon chain. Okay, the first chiral center of a sugar's carbon chain is an example of this epimer because it is either of the two stereoisomers that differ in the arrangement of groups of a single asymmetric carbon atom. I'm not sure where we're going with this. Epimeric is an adjective, so I'm guessing that maybe, are we using this other version, this other definition, a chemical entity related to another or distinguished from another? And so if there are two of these stereoisomers, one of them, either one of them, would be the epimer. And that's all I can't do. My brain doesn't understand any of the rest of that. Epimerase. Epimerase or epimerase. This is a noun from 1960. Any of various isomerases that catalyze the inversion of asymmetric groups in a substrate with several centers of asymmetry. And this sounds very interesting, but just like the previous word, I don't understand it. I need somebody to describe it to me in another way, or maybe see pictures, something like that. Epimerase. Yeah. Zzz. Next is epimysium. Epimysium or epimysium. Epimysium or Z. Epimysium, noun from 1900. The external connective tissue sheath of a muscle. The external connective tissue sheath of a muscle. So the muscle is in this sheath, this thing that's just filled with connective tissues. And yeah, it would be on the outside of the muscle. I've never heard of this one. Epimysium. How so many of us don't know these things about our own bodies? Why didn't they teach us this in school? Maybe you only need to know this if you're like a doctor or a biologist or a dentist. So this word is from the epi prefix plus the Greek word mys, M-Y-S, which means mouse or muscle. There's kind of a difference there. Mouse or muscle. The context is very, very important for that one. There's more at the word mouse, but this one's about muscles. The thing that the muscle is in, I guess, is the epimysium. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Ooh, okay, here we go. With this is a fun-sounding word. It's probably not going to be nearly as interesting as I think it should be, but here we go with epinasty. E-P-I, and then the word nasty. Noun from 1880. Let's see. Where did it go? This is a nastic movement in which a plant part, as a flower petal, is bent outward and often downward, out and down. So this word nasty, nastic, is related to flowers, and we'll get to learn all about that when we get to the ends. So why is it the epi prefix? Let's look at the etymology. It's the epi prefix plus the Greek word nastos, which means close pressed. Close pressed. That's not very helpful. Which is from the verb nasin, which means to press. So, but the epi, how is the epi? Because it's going out? Because it's out and down? Is that the epi prefix? I don't know. Maybe we need a picture of this epinasty. These flower petals would be epinasty. Epinasty. Okay. Zzz. Next is epinephrine. Epinephrine, yep, you can spell it with or without an E at the end. This is a noun from 1899, and it looks like we got one long definition. This is a colorless, crystalline, feebly basic sympathomimetic hormone, C9H13NO3, that is the principal blood pressure raising hormone secreted by the adrenal medulla and is used medicinally, especially as a heart stimulant, a vasoconstrictor in controlling hemorrhages of the skin, and a muscle relaxant in bronchial asthma. And this is called also adrenaline. Adrenaline. When you got the adrenaline pumping, let's see. Well, it's hormone, and it's gonna heart stimulant. Yeah, your heart rate is gonna go up. Vasoconstrictor controlling hemorrhages of the skin, and it's a muscle relaxant. So your muscles are like free to just do whatever they got to do. You're ready. You're amped up. That's what it is. Epinephrine. Yeah, so are epinephrine and adrenaline the same thing? It says it's called also adrenaline, so I guess it must be the same thing. The word is from the epi prefix plus the Greek word nephros, which means kidney, and there's more at the word nephritis, and I don't really understand why it's related to kidneys specifically. I don't know, that's kind of a weird one, but I'm sure there's some good reason. This is, I believe, when you have an allergic reaction to something, some people have an EpiPen on them, and I believe epinephrine is the thing inside of the EpiPen. They stab themselves in the leg, and then this epinephrine, adrenaline, goes through their body, and it's basically kicking the body into gear to clear out all the bad stuff. Maybe it was a nut allergy or something, and your body's going to take over, say, whoa, I'm going into high gear, I'm going to get rid of all this stuff, and I'm going to clean out the body, and I'm going to secrete, I'm getting extra hormones, and it's a heart stimulant, so the blood's pumping, which means that the blood is literally going to go through the body faster and clean out the stuff, and all the good parts of the blood are going to fight off the bad stuff that's freaking out the body, and it's also adrenaline. Whoo! Okay. That's epinephrine. EpiPen, I would think, well, we would have already seen EpiPen, or no, EpiPen would be coming up, but it's not in here. But epinephrine, at least we got that one in here. I was talking to somebody who has allergic reactions to a thing, and they don't carry an EpiPen with them. And I was like, that's not safe. You should have an EpiPen. Zzz. And now I have no hair. It's all been buzzed off. If you're just listening to this, you don't know. The last word is epineurium. 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 Noun from circa 1882. This is the external connective tissue sheath of a nerve trunk. So before we had the external sheath of a muscle, but this one, the nerve trunk, well, in your spine, you have the spinal cord. There's a whole big rope of nerves in your spine, and what's around it? Maybe this epineurium is the thing holding it all together in place, protecting it maybe from the rest of the stuff. I don't know. I mean, your spine, I think, is also kind of around it also, but this is the thing that just, it's the sheath. It's like a wrapping. Don't unwrap your nerves, your nerve trunk. Epineurium, that's what that is. Yep, that's what it is. And now I finished all the words. I'm going to pick a word of the episode. We had today epilation, epilepsy, epilept, epileptic, epileptiform, epileptogenic, epileptoid, epilimnion, epilogue, epimere, epimerase, epimesium or epimesium, epinasty, epinephrine, and epineurium. Well, I just love the word epinasty. I don't think I'm going to pick that as the word of the episode, but it is kind of a fun word. I don't know, maybe just epilogue. All these sort of science-y, chemically things I didn't fully understand because that's not my world. But yeah, epilogue. Let's pick epilogue as the word of the episode. This is the end of the show. This is the epilogue. I hope you learned lots of good things. I'm summarizing them in the epilogue. Boom, boom. Fantastic. Wonderful. Let's tell you about some more movies that I watched. Let's say a whole bunch of them. I rewatched the movie Weird, the Weird Al Yankovic story, and it just won just this weekend at the Creative Arts Emmys, which are not televised. It won Best Original Score and Best, what was it? Best Movie Made for TV. It was on Roku. It's not technically TV, but I don't know. It's the movie industry is very complicated now with streaming and stuff. But it won, and that's fantastic. It beat out some very big movies, and this was a pretty independent movie made very quickly, very cheaply, and it's so good, so funny, so silly. So you got to go watch Weird. What else? Night of the Comet from the 80s. Another very, very cheap movie it looked like, but beautiful, beautiful shots. Really, really beautiful. For what they had to work with, I think they did a really good job. It's just kind of just a sort of a weird sci-fi 80s movie. Not really weird, but a little weird. Anyway, Saltburn. Interesting, fun, funny, but also dramatic movie. Recommend. Adult. Fallen Leaves. I don't remember what language this is in. It's not English. And it's a little, all I want to say is it's a little surreal. Just a little bit off, a little bit different, a little bit weird. And I appreciated that. And I think I would get even more enjoyment out of it for a second time if I watched it a second time. Eileen, I think I remember which this one is. Yep, this was good. I can't think of what to say about that one. But it was good, really good performances, really intriguing. It was really intriguing. Hey, let's say another one, Anna and the Apocalypse. We'll end there. We watched this with my family because they had never seen it, and it is a very, very fun Scottish musical at Christmas time about zombies. And that's it. Good stuff. Let's end this episode. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and until next time, this is Spencer saying his epilogue, dispensing information. Goodbye.